Imagine you are walking down the street, enjoying the day, when suddenly, someone says something hurtful to you. The words sting, and you feel the anger bubbling up inside. You try to ignore it, but the hurt lingers. It doesn't go away. You may have felt this before. Perhaps it was a family member, a friend, or even a colleague who made you feel small or unimportant. Have you ever wondered why some people's words or actions affect you so deeply? Why does it seem like these moments stay with you longer than you'd like? What is it that makes us feel so wounded when others hurt us? And most importantly, how do we heal from these moments and find peace again? In life, we all encounter pain, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental. But what if I told you that there's a way to deal with this hurt, a way to find peace despite the actions of others? What if there's a powerful practice that can transform how you react to pain, anger, and resentment? What if the answer lies in understanding our own inner world and how we respond to the world around us? Let's take a simple example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic and someone cuts you off. You feel the frustration rise. It's a small incident, but seems to carry a big weight. You start to fume, thinking about how unfair it is. Now, what if, instead of letting that frustration take control, you pause for a moment, breathe deeply, and let go of that anger? Imagine how much lighter you would feel. The peace that would come from choosing to not let that small incident define your mood. Welcome to Wisdom Woven. In this video, we'll explore how Buddhism offers us a powerful way to handle hurt. We'll dive into how we can choose peace instead of pain, forgiveness over grudges, and freedom over resentment. But before we begin, I want to say this. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. So, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're with me on this journey, start by commenting Namo Buddha to stay energetic. Now, let's dive deep into this transformative wisdom that can change the way you view hurt. The nature of hurt, understanding suffering through Buddhist eyes. We all face hurt in our lives. It could come from someone close to us, from a stranger, or even from ourselves. We all know the feeling, the sharp sting of words or actions that wound us deeply. But have you ever stopped to wonder, why does hurt feel the way it does? Why does pain, emotional pain especially, seem so difficult to escape from once it's entered our hearts? What is this thing we call hurt? And how does Buddhism understand it? In the teachings of Buddhism, we are reminded that life is full of suffering. This is known as the first noble truth, dukkha, or suffering. But what does that really mean? Suffering is not just physical pain. It's the emotional pain we feel when we are hurt by others, the mental anguish that comes when we can't let go of our fears, anxieties, or frustrations. It's the unease we feel when things don't go as we expect, when life doesn't align with our desires. The reason we suffer, according to Buddhist teachings, is because we hold on to things that hurt us. We hold on to the memory of the insult, the words that were said, the unfairness that we feel. We carry these things like heavy stones in our hearts, allowing them to shape how we see the world and how we see ourselves. But what if this suffering isn't necessary? What if we don't have to carry these burdens around with us? What if there's another way to live? A way where we don't have to be constantly affected by the actions of others. Buddhism teaches us that suffering comes from attachment to our desires, to our expectations, and even to our pain. When we expect people to behave a certain way, or when we cling to the belief that things should always go as planned, we set ourselves up for disappointment and suffering. We forget that life is impermanent, that everything changes, and that our attachment to these desires leads to unnecessary suffering. Imagine this. When you hold on to a grudge or bitterness, it's like you're gripping a hot coal with the hope of throwing it at someone else. You might think that by holding on to that pain, you're punishing the other person. But in reality, you're only burning yourself. The more tightly you hold on to the hurt, the more you continue to suffer. The person who wronged you may have long since forgotten about it, moved on, but you remain trapped in the heat of your own anger and resentment. This attachment to pain is something we all experience, even if we don't recognize it. It is the belief that if we hold onto the pain, if we remember every detail of the wrong that was done to us, we somehow protect ourselves from future harm. But in reality, this only keeps us stuck in the past, unable to move forward. The very thing we think is protecting us is actually keeping us imprisoned in our own suffering. Buddhism offers us a way out of this cycle, a way to see our suffering for what it is and to let go of it. The Buddha taught that we can break free from suffering by understanding its true nature and by practicing the Eightfold Path, a path that leads to the cessation of suffering. One of the first steps along this path is understanding that pain and hurt are a natural part of life. They come and go like the weather. But what we do with that pain, how we respond to it, is what truly matters. When we react to pain by clinging to it, by letting it shape our actions and thoughts, we reinforce the cycle of suffering. But when we approach pain with awareness and understanding, we create the space to heal. Instead of holding onto the pain, we can let it flow through us, acknowledging it without letting it control us. This is not to say that we should ignore or suppress our hurt. Buddhism does not teach us to deny our emotions or to pretend that we aren't affected by what others do to us. Rather, it teaches us to acknowledge the hurt, to accept it, and then to let it go. To recognize that, while pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. We don't have to carry it forever. Just like clouds passing through the sky, our pain can come and go if we allow it to. Consider a leaf floating on the surface of a river. The river represents the flow of life, constant, ever-changing. The leaf represents your pain. If you try to hold onto the leaf, you'll struggle to keep it above the water, and it will eventually weigh you down. But if you let the leaf float along with the current, it will eventually pass by, just like the pain. The river moves on, and so can you. This is the nature of suffering. It is impermanent. The Buddha taught us that everything in life is in a constant state of change. The pain you feel today is not the same as the pain you will feel tomorrow. It's not the same as the pain you felt yesterday. Pain is like a wave in the ocean. It rises up, crashes down, and eventually recedes. What we often forget is that we have the power to let it pass, to not hold on to it, to not become attached to it. So, what can you do when you feel hurt? When the weight of anger, frustration, or sadness feels like it's too much to bear, remember this: you are not your pain. The pain you feel is only a small part of you, a temporary experience in the flow of your life. You are much bigger than that pain, just as the sky is much larger than a single cloud. Don't let the pain define you. Don't let it control you. Let it be what it is, and let it go. The Buddha spoke of the importance of mindfulness, the practice of being fully present in each moment, aware of our thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment. This is the first step toward healing from hurt. By practicing mindfulness, we can observe our pain without becoming overwhelmed by it. We can notice the thoughts that arise when we feel hurt, acknowledge them, and then let them pass. We don't need to hold on to them. Just as we wouldn't hold on to the hot coal, we don't need to hold on to the hurt. It is in this space of awareness that healing begins. When you observe your pain without attachment, when you see it as a passing moment rather than a permanent part of who you are, you start to free yourself from its grip. And as you let go of that attachment, you create room for peace, for compassion, for understanding, and for love to enter your heart. Buddhism also teaches us about the interconnectedness of all beings. Every person who hurts you is also suffering in their own way. They may act out of their own pain, their own misunderstandings, their own struggles. When you can see the humanity in others, when you understand that they too are on a journey of growth and learning, you begin to feel compassion instead of anger. You begin to realize that their hurtful actions are a reflection of their own suffering, not a reflection of who you are. In this understanding, you begin to feel less hurt by others' actions. When you understand that everyone is struggling in their own way, you no longer take their behavior personally. You no longer feel that their actions are a direct attack on you. Instead, you see them as part of the greater whole of life, and you respond with kindness, not retaliation. This does not mean that you allow others to treat you poorly or that you accept harmful behavior. Buddhism teaches us the importance of boundaries and wisdom, but it does mean that you approach others with compassion, understanding that their pain is influencing their actions, just as your pain influences yours. And in that compassion, you find the strength to forgive, to let go, and to find peace. Remember, hurt is not permanent. It is just a moment in time, a wave that will eventually pass. You have the power to let go of it, to heal from it, and to live with a heart full of peace, compassion, and understanding. You're not defined by the pain others cause you. You're defined by how you respond to it. And in that response lies your freedom. Why people hurt others, the chain of pain and ignorance. Why do people hurt others? It's a question many of us ask when we find ourselves on the receiving end of someone's words or actions. You might wonder, what can make someone treat me like this? It can feel so personal, so unfair. But here's a fundamental truth we often overlook. People hurt others because they themselves are hurting. It's not about you. It's about them. The cycle of hurt begins when someone, wounded in their own way, lashes out in an attempt to relieve their own pain. It's not always intentional. Often, the hurt comes from a place of ignorance or fear. When someone is suffering inside, they're not in a place of peace. They're reacting to their own inner turmoil, and sadly, that turmoil spills out onto others. This is why we see anger, harsh words, or even violence. It's an attempt to mask the hurt they feel within themselves. Consider the story of a young boy who grows up in a household where love is scarce. His parents, worn down by their own struggles, may not show him the affection and warmth he needs. Over time, this child begins to feel inadequate, unloved, and angry. He carries this pain with him into adulthood. Now, when something triggers that old feeling of inadequacy, he reacts harshly, not out of malice, but because he doesn't know how else to cope. He may even hurt those closest to him, his friends, colleagues, or loved ones, without fully understanding why. The same happens on a larger scale. Nations and communities in conflict are often driven by deep-seated wounds. For example, consider the history of war and violence. The reason two sides go to war is not because they are inherently evil or cruel. It is because they've been wounded by history, by fear, by misunderstanding. The pain is passed down, and with it, the cycle of harm continues. We are all, in some way, part of this cycle of pain and ignorance. But here's the thing. Hurt people hurt people. It's a simple truth that many fail to understand, yet it holds immense power. When someone hurts you, it often has very little to do with you as a person. Instead, it speaks to what they are going through within themselves. Maybe they have their own unresolved pain, unmet needs, or fears that they don't know how to handle. Their actions are simply a reflection of their internal struggle, not an attack on your worth. Now, think about how this understanding can change how you react. If you see that someone's hurtful behavior is a result of their own pain, you might feel a little less anger and frustration. Instead of feeling personally attacked, you may find yourself feeling compassion for their suffering. You may even begin to understand that their harsh words or actions are not meant to diminish you, but to express their inner wounds. This doesn't mean you have to accept mistreatment, but it does mean that you can separate yourself from the pain they are projecting. In Buddhism, there's a concept known as ignorance. It's the idea that people act out of a lack of awareness or understanding. When someone is ignorant of their own inner suffering, they tend to project that suffering onto others. They can't see that their actions are causing harm because they're so caught up in their own pain. This is why the Buddha taught the importance of awareness, understanding the root of our own suffering before projecting it onto others. It's not about being perfect or never making mistakes, but about recognizing our tendencies to hurt others when we're in pain and choosing a different path. This path of understanding isn't just about the other person, though. It's also about ourselves. When we understand that hurt people, we can begin to free ourselves from the cycle. Instead of holding on to anger and resentment, we can choose to look deeper. We can ask ourselves, what might this person be going through? What pain are they carrying that led them to behave this way? This kind of reflection doesn't excuse their behavior, but it allows us to approach the situation with more wisdom and compassion. We stop seeing them as an enemy and instead recognize them as a fellow traveler in the journey of life, struggling with their own battles. In Buddhism, there's a practice called metta, or loving-kindness meditation. It's a practice where you send goodwill, loving-kindness, and compassion to others, especially those who may have hurt you. The idea behind this is simple yet profound. When you recognize that others are suffering, you can start to see them in a new light. They are not evil or malicious. They're simply suffering in ways you may not fully understand. By cultivating loving-kindness, you begin to break down the walls of separation and bitterness. You see that, just like you, they're struggling to find peace. But how does this work in real life? Let's consider a simple example. Imagine someone at work criticizes your performance. Instead of reacting with anger or defensiveness, take a deep breath and consider, what might they be going through? Maybe they're under stress. Maybe they're worried about their own job security, or maybe they have a personal issue they're dealing with. Their criticism, while hurtful, is likely not about you. It's about them. And when you see that, you can respond from a place of calm and wisdom, rather than reacting with the same anger or frustration. Of course, this doesn't mean you should tolerate mistreatment. The goal isn't to be a passive recipient of others' harm. It's about understanding that when people hurt you, it's often because they're trapped in their own pain and ignorance. You can choose to set healthy boundaries and protect yourself, but you can also choose not to internalize their hurtful actions. You don't have to carry their pain with you. You can let it go, and by doing so, you free yourself from the cycle of suffering. This understanding doesn't happen overnight. It takes time and practice to shift our mindset from one of anger to one of compassion. But it is a powerful practice. When you can begin to see the pain in others, it allows you to soften your heart and break the chain of hurt. And as you do, you will find that your own pain begins to diminish, and your capacity for peace and understanding grows. When you start to see the world through this lens, something incredible happens. You begin to approach life with more patience, more understanding, and more forgiveness. You stop seeing the world as a place where people are out to hurt you, and instead, you see it as a place where everyone is doing their best, even if they are struggling. You stop feeling like a victim and start feeling like a compassionate, wise observer of the world around you. The more you practice this understanding, the more you will notice that your anger and resentment begin to fade away, replaced by a sense of peace and connection. Remember, every time you face someone's hurtful words or actions, you have a choice. You can choose to react with anger and pain, or you can choose to respond with understanding and compassion. By understanding that hurt people, you take away the power of their actions to control your peace. You reclaim your own power, not by holding on to anger, but by letting go of it. As we move forward in this journey, keep in mind that each moment of hurt offers an opportunity to grow. It's a chance to practice compassion, understanding, and forgiveness, not just toward others, but also toward ourselves. This path isn't easy, but it is one of the most transformative practices we can undertake in our lives. And through it, we find the peace we've been seeking all along. The mirror of the mind, reflection over reaction. When someone hurts us, it's easy to feel the immediate impulse to react. The sting of the words, the sting of the action, it triggers something deep within us. Often, we don't even think about it. Our emotions take over and the reaction comes naturally. But what if I told you that you don't have to react? What if you could pause, reflect, and then choose how to respond? This simple yet powerful act could change everything. In the Buddhist tradition, we are taught that our minds are like a mirror. The mind reflects everything we encounter, good, bad, or neutral. However, unlike a mirror that simply reflects light and images without judgment, our minds often judge, distort, and add layers of emotion to what we experience. This process, called mental proliferation, leads us to get caught up in our emotions and react impulsively. Our minds add extra layers of pain, and before we know it, we are trapped in a cycle of negative emotions. Think about it for a moment. When someone hurts you, the pain they cause is only the beginning. It's how you respond to that pain that determines how long you will carry it. Let's say someone says something hurtful to you. The words may sting, but that sting is brief. If you allow your mind to dwell on it, if you replay the conversation, if you keep thinking of how unfair it was, if you let that moment consume your thoughts, then the pain continues to grow. What began as a small wound becomes a much larger one. You carry with you, and it starts to affect how you see the world and how you interact with others. Buddhism teaches us that the mind is a powerful tool. It is neither inherently good nor bad, but how we use it shapes our reality. When we react without awareness, we create suffering for ourselves. The Buddha taught that we must develop mindfulness to break free from this cycle. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to our thoughts, emotions, and reactions in the present moment, without judgment. When we are mindful, we can see clearly the way our minds are reacting to situations. We can recognize the patterns of our thoughts, the emotional triggers, and the way we typically react to those triggers. In moments of hurt, mindfulness allows us to create space between the stimulus, the hurtful action or words, and our response. In this space, we have the power to choose how we respond. We don't have to act on impulse. We can pause and choose a response that aligns with our inner peace. This doesn't mean we suppress our emotions or pretend the hurt didn't happen. It means we acknowledge the hurt, but we don't let it control us. We don't let it lead us into anger, resentment, or revenge. Instead, we respond with awareness and compassion, both for ourselves and for the other person involved. Let's imagine a situation. You've had a disagreement with someone and they say something that really hurts you. The natural reaction might be to retaliate, to defend yourself, to prove that you're right. But in the moment, if you pause and reflect, you might realize that the words spoken were a reflection of that person's own pain, their own struggles, or their own ignorance. You may begin to see that their hurtful words are not really about you. They are about them. In that moment, instead of reacting with anger, you may feel a sense of compassion for them. You may feel a sense of understanding, and in that understanding, you can find peace. This is the power of reflection. When we take a moment to step back and reflect, we can see things clearly. We begin to see beyond the surface level of the hurt and understand the deeper causes of the pain. We can see that the other person is not necessarily trying to hurt us on purpose. They are reacting to their own inner turmoil. When we see the world from this perspective, we no longer feel like we need to defend ourselves or retaliate. We can respond with wisdom, compassion, and understanding. In Buddhism, we are taught the practice of right view, which is seeing things as they truly are. Right view helps us understand that we are all interconnected, that our actions have consequences, and that the suffering we experience is often a result of ignorance or misunderstanding. When we cultivate right view, we begin to see the world through a lens of compassion, not judgment. We see that everyone is doing the best they can with the tools they have, even if those tools are flawed. When someone hurts you, it is a reflection of their own struggles, their own pain. It is not a reflection of your worth or value. This is a powerful realization because it shifts the focus away from us and places it on the other person's suffering. In doing so, we free ourselves from the cycle of reacting to every hurt and instead choose to respond with compassion and understanding. Now, this doesn't mean that we become passive doormats. Compassion and understanding do not require us to tolerate abusive behavior or let people walk over us. It simply means that we no longer allow their actions to dictate how we feel. We can stand up for ourselves and set healthy boundaries, but we do so from a place of calm and clarity, not from a place of anger or fear. Reflection over reaction is not about suppressing our feelings. It's about creating space to process them in a healthy way. It's about choosing to respond in a way that aligns with our deepest values, rather than reacting out of habit or emotion. This practice takes time, patience, and mindfulness. It's not something that happens overnight, but with consistent effort, we can train our minds to respond with wisdom instead of reacting with emotion. When we begin to practice reflection over reaction, we start to experience more peace in our lives. The things that once triggered us no longer have the same power over us. The hurts that once seemed unbearable become just another part of the ebb and flow of life. We begin to see that hurt is inevitable, but suffering is optional. We can choose to let go of the suffering by not holding on to the pain. Instead, we can choose peace, compassion, and understanding. This is the path of a peaceful warrior, someone who doesn't react impulsively but reflects deeply before responding. The peaceful warrior is not someone who avoids conflict or runs from pain. They're someone who faces conflict and pain with courage and wisdom. They understand that hurt is a part of life, but doesn't define who they are. They are not the sum of their hurts. They're the sum of their responses to those hurts. In the end, reflection over reaction is about reclaiming our power. It's about recognizing that we don't have to be victims of our emotions or of other people's actions. We are the masters of our responses. We can choose peace, and in choosing peace, we can change our lives and the lives of those around us. This practice may take time to cultivate, but with each passing day, we grow a little stronger. We become less reactive and more mindful. And as we do, we create a life filled with less suffering and more peace. In the end, this is the true freedom we seek. Freedom from the chains of reaction, freedom to live in alignment with our deepest values, and freedom to respond to life with wisdom and compassion. The power of pausing, respond, don't react. In the quiet moments of life, we often forget the immense power of just pausing. It may seem like such a small action, but in truth, it holds the key to transforming how we deal with hurt. Every day, we encounter situations that can trigger emotions within us: anger, frustration, sadness, fear. These feelings arise in response to something someone has said or done. But have you ever stopped to think, even for a moment, before reacting? What if, instead of letting your emotions control your actions, you allowed yourself just a moment to pause? The world moves so fast these days. People rush from one thing to another, constantly reacting, responding, and engaging without taking a breath. It's easy to fall into this pattern of constant motion, especially when we're hurt or upset. But what if, for a brief second, you could hit the pause button before you let those emotions run wild? What if you could simply stop, breathe, and observe what's happening inside you? This small act of pausing could make all the difference. Imagine, for a moment, you're in a situation where someone says something hurtful. Your immediate instinct might be to lash out, to defend yourself, or to retaliate. That's a natural reaction. But if you pause, just for a moment, you allow yourself the space to choose your response. Instead of reacting out of anger, you have the chance to respond with wisdom, with calm, and with understanding. In Buddhist teachings, this idea of pausing before reacting is called mindful awareness. It's about being present in the moment, aware of your emotions, and understanding that you don't have to act on every feeling that arises. This is the first step toward not being controlled by your emotions. When you pause, you create a space between stimulus and response. In that space, you have the freedom to choose how to respond. Think about how often we say things we regret in the heat of the moment. When we're angry, we can say words that are sharp, hurtful, and sometimes we don't even mean them. But when we pause, we create an opportunity for clarity. In that moment, we can ask ourselves, what do I truly want to say? What is the best way to respond? By taking a moment to reflect, we ensure that our actions come from a place of wisdom, not impulsivity. This pause doesn't require hours of meditation or deep spiritual practice. It's something anyone can do, anywhere, in any situation. The more we practice it, the more natural it becomes. It could be as simple as taking a deep breath, counting to 3, or silently reminding yourself to pause before responding. You don't have to let the emotions of the moment control you. By creating this pause, you take back the power. In Buddhist philosophy, there's a powerful concept known as right action. It's part of the Noble Eightfold Path and speaks to the idea of acting with compassion and wisdom, free from harmful intention. When we pause before reacting, we give ourselves the opportunity to act from a place of right intention, not out of anger, pride, or fear. This practice of pausing isn't just for big moments of conflict. It's a tool for everyday life. It can be used when someone cuts you off in traffic, when a colleague says something thoughtless, or when a family member unknowingly hurts you. The beauty of this practice is that it doesn't mean you suppress your emotions or pretend that you're not hurt. It means you acknowledge the feeling without being controlled by it. You understand that your feelings are valid, but you don't have to let them dictate your actions. In this way, you protect yourself from unnecessary suffering. When we react impulsively, we often find ourselves trapped in a cycle of negative emotions. We might feel justified in our anger or hurt, but in reality, that cycle only prolongs the pain. By pausing, we step out of that cycle. We don't allow ourselves to be drawn into it. Instead, we give ourselves a moment to choose a response that is more aligned with who we want to be. It's about taking responsibility for how we engage with the world around us. Let's imagine a situation where someone has said something that hurts you deeply. Your initial reaction might be to defend yourself, to argue, or to shut down emotionally. But what if you didn't do any of that? What if instead you simply paused and took a deep breath? In that moment, you might realize that the hurtful words weren't about you at all. They might be a reflection of the other person's own struggles or pain. The pause allows you to step back and see things from a broader perspective. It helps you avoid personalizing the hurt and frees you from holding on to the negativity. This is where the true power of pausing lies. It creates space for clarity and understanding. It helps you rise above the moment and see it from a place of peace rather than reaction. In that space, you can decide to let go of the hurt, or to respond with kindness and understanding, or even to remain silent. Whatever feels right for your inner peace. Many people don't realize just how much power they have in choosing their response. They think that reacting impulsively is the only way to deal with conflict or hurt. But in truth, pausing is a more powerful and liberating choice. It gives you the space to connect with your inner wisdom and choose a response that is aligned with your values, rather than reacting based on your emotions. When we pause, we give ourselves the opportunity to break free from old patterns of reactivity. We don't have to keep repeating the same cycles of anger, hurt, and regret. Instead, we can create new habits of thought and behavior, ones that are grounded in mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom. In Buddhism, this practice is known as mindful responding, and it is one of the most powerful tools for peace. It helps us navigate the world with clarity and grace, even in the midst of challenges. When we cultivate the habit of pausing before responding, we begin to see the world in a new way. We start to respond with intention, not just reflex. This is the path to true inner freedom. So, the next time you find yourself hurt or upset, remember the power of pausing. Take a deep breath, count to 3, and give yourself the gift of that precious moment. In that pause, you'll find not just peace, but the wisdom to choose your response with clarity and grace. You will begin to see that you have control, not over what others do, but over how you choose to respond. And that is the true freedom that comes from within. Compassion without attachment, the Buddhist way to let go. In the journey of life, there are moments when others hurt us, whether by their words, actions, or simply their disregard. The instinctive reaction is often to hold on to that hurt, to clutch it tightly within our hearts. We build walls around ourselves, holding on to resentment, anger, or pain, hoping that it will protect us from being hurt again. But have you ever stopped to wonder if these walls are really protecting you, or if, instead, they're slowly suffocating you from within? Compassion is one of the most powerful tools we can use to heal ourselves, yet it is not always an easy path to walk. Compassion does not mean accepting mistreatment or allowing others to hurt us over and over again. It doesn't mean becoming a doormat or silently suffering. True compassion, as taught in Buddhism, involves understanding the suffering of others and responding with kindness, without clinging to the pain they may cause. It's the recognition that we, too, are part of this vast web of interconnected lives. The pain we experience is not isolated to us alone. Others suffer in their own ways too. When someone hurts you, it can be difficult to resist the urge to retaliate or to close yourself off emotionally. But imagine if you could release that desire for revenge, that need to make them feel the same hurt they've caused you? What if instead you could meet their hurt with compassion, not for their sake, but for your own peace of mind? What if, instead of holding on to resentment, you could let go of the pain and release yourself from the chains of anger? In Buddhism, the concept of attachment plays a significant role in our suffering. Attachment is the bond we form not only with people, but also with our emotions, thoughts, and expectations. When we attach ourselves to hurt, anger, or resentment, we create suffering for ourselves. But if we can release that attachment, if we can learn to observe our emotions without becoming consumed by them, we create space for healing. We allow ourselves to feel without holding on. Compassion is the key to this release. But this doesn't mean that we are weak or passive. It simply means that we recognize the humanity in the other person, understanding that their actions may come from their own suffering. Just as we sometimes react to the world in pain, so do others. They too may be trapped in their own cycle of suffering, unaware of the hurt they cause. Understanding this allows us to respond not with anger, but with empathy. It can be helpful to reflect on a moment when someone hurt you. Think about how you felt. Was it anger? Betrayal? Sadness? Now, imagine that the person who hurt you is also suffering. They're not exempt from pain. In fact, their behavior may stem from unresolved pain within themselves. They may not even realize the impact of their actions on you. This perspective allows us to soften our hearts, to feel compassion instead of resentment. Let's be clear, compassion without attachment doesn't mean allowing others to repeatedly hurt us. It's not about tolerating abuse or remaining in harmful situations. Compassion is about seeing beyond the pain, seeing beyond the negative emotions, and recognizing that our own well-being does not have to be tied to the actions of others. It's about choosing peace over anger, kindness over bitterness. Imagine a mother who watches her child act out, maybe even speak rudely or misbehave. The mother may feel hurt by her child's actions, but her compassion for the child's suffering allows her to respond with understanding, not anger. She may correct the child, but she does so from a place of love, not resentment. She recognizes that the child's behavior comes from a place of confusion or pain, and her response is to guide the child, not to retaliate or punish them harshly. Similarly, when we are hurt by others, compassion allows us to see their pain, their struggles, and their limitations. We don't need to absorb their suffering or carry it for them, but we can choose not to add to it by responding with hate or resentment. Compassion does not ask us to ignore our feelings or pretend the hurt didn't happen. It asks us to feel those emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them, and then to release them so that we're not held hostage by the actions of others. A powerful way to practice compassion is through meditation. In Buddhist tradition, we practice metta bhavana, or loving-kindness meditation, to cultivate compassion not just for others, but also for ourselves. In this meditation, we focus on sending out thoughts of love and kindness to others, starting with ourselves and gradually extending out to friends, strangers, and even those who have caused us harm. Through this practice, we learn to detach from the negative feelings associated with hurt and shift our focus to the positive energy of compassion. Think of it this way. If you hold on to anger, it's like holding a burning coal in your hand, hoping to throw it at someone else. But you're the one who gets burnt. On the other hand, when you let go of that anger, you release the coal, and you free yourself from its burn. Compassion is the release of that coal. It's the act of choosing not to let the pain of others burn us. By practicing compassion, we are not excusing the behavior that hurt us. Instead, we are recognizing that the person who hurt us may be struggling with their own battles. And by releasing attachment to our own hurt, we give ourselves the gift of peace, allowing us to move forward without the weight of resentment. It's important to remember that compassion is a gift we give to ourselves, not just to others. When we practice compassion without attachment, we free ourselves from the chains of anger, resentment, and pain. We reclaim our inner peace and allow ourselves to heal. True healing comes from understanding and releasing, not from holding on to the wounds. The more we practice compassion without attachment, the lighter we become, the freer we are. And in this freedom, we find a deeper peace, not just within ourselves, but with the world around us. The Buddhist path teaches us that the mind is like a garden, and our thoughts and emotions are the seeds we plant. If we plant seeds of anger and resentment, we grow a garden of bitterness. But if we plant seeds of compassion and understanding, we grow a garden of peace. It's up to us to decide what we want to cultivate in our minds and in our hearts. By choosing compassion without attachment, we are choosing to cultivate peace, joy, and freedom. And in this choice, we step onto the path of true healing. The karma of holding on, the price of grudges and resentment. There's a saying in Buddhism, holding on to anger is like holding on to a hot coal, hoping the other person will get burned. This is the very essence of karma in our lives, and it teaches us a profound truth. When we hold on to grudges and resentment, we are hurting ourselves far more than the person we are angry with. Think about it for a moment. When someone wrongs us, we naturally feel the sting of pain. It's only human. But what often happens next? Instead of letting go, we hold on to the pain. We replay the hurtful words or actions in our minds, again and again. We tell ourselves that we deserve an apology, that the person who hurt us must somehow pay for what they did. But all the while, the pain festers inside us. It grows and turns into resentment. Do you know what resentment really is? It's like a poison we swallow, hoping the other person will suffer. But here's the harsh truth. It doesn't work that way. The only one affected by our resentment is us. The person who hurt us may have long moved on, but we're still trapped in the past, carrying a burden that weighs us down. And the longer we hold on to it, the more deeply it affects our peace, our happiness, and our health. In Buddhism, we learn that karma is not just about the actions we do. It's also about the thoughts and feelings we carry within us. The energy we hold onto can shape our future experiences. When we hold on to negative feelings like anger and resentment, we are creating more suffering for ourselves. We may even attract more situations that make us feel hurt because our energy is vibrating at that frequency. But here's the good news. We can change that. We don't have to stay trapped in the cycle of hurt. We don't have to carry around the weight of grudges forever. The first step in breaking free is understanding that resentment does not serve us. It doesn't change the past, and it doesn't improve the present. It only poisons the future. When we choose to let go of resentment, we free ourselves. It doesn't mean we forget what happened or condone the wrongdoer's actions. It simply means we are choosing peace over pain, healing over harm. Letting go of a grudge is like setting down a heavy stone that we have been carrying on our back for far too long. The moment we release it, we feel lighter. Our hearts are freer, our minds clearer. But there's another important lesson here. Letting go of resentment doesn't mean we accept mistreatment. It doesn't mean we allow others to hurt us repeatedly without standing up for ourselves. In Buddhism, we are taught to practice compassion and wisdom. Compassion means understanding the suffering of others, while wisdom means recognizing when someone's behavior is harmful to us. We don't have to stay in relationships or situations where we are being hurt. Letting go of resentment allows us to set healthy boundaries, to protect ourselves without carrying the weight of anger. Think of a time when someone really hurt you. Maybe it was a friend, a family member, or even a stranger. You held on to that pain for a while, didn't you? You replayed the words or actions in your mind, wondering why they did it. Maybe you even tried to seek revenge or make them feel as bad as you did. But what happened in the end? Did it make you feel better? Did it heal the hurt? Now, imagine what would have happened if, instead of holding on to that resentment, you chose to forgive. Not for the other person, but for yourself. You let go of the need for revenge or an apology. You chose to release the pain and focus on your own healing. You chose peace over punishment. Can you imagine the freedom that would have brought you? Letting go of grudges and resentment doesn't mean we ignore our feelings. It doesn't mean we suppress our hurt or pretend everything is okay. No, it means we acknowledge our feelings, allow ourselves to grieve if needed, but then we choose to let go. We choose not to let the negative energy control us. We choose to move forward with a sense of freedom, no longer held back by the chains of anger and resentment. The beauty of Buddhism is that it shows us the path to liberation from these destructive emotions. We don't have to wait for the person who hurt us to apologize, and we don't need to hold onto the anger to feel justified. We can release the past, forgive the wrongs, and move forward with a light heart. And in doing so, we change the course of our future. When we choose to let go, we create the space for healing. We open the door to love, to compassion, and to understanding. We allow ourselves to grow beyond the pain, beyond the hurt, and into a place of peace and joy. Letting go is not a one-time event. It is a process, and it takes time. But the more we practice releasing resentment, the easier it becomes. Just like any other skill, forgiveness and letting go can be developed with patience and practice. Each time we let go, we become more skilled at it. Each time we choose peace over anger, we become more at ease with ourselves. And remember, letting go doesn't mean we're weak or that we've been defeated. On the contrary, it takes great strength to forgive and to release the weight of resentment. It takes courage to choose peace when everything inside you wants to hold on to the hurt. But when we do, we find a sense of freedom that no amount of revenge or grudges could ever bring. So, today, I invite you to reflect on your own life. Is there something or someone you are still holding on to? Is there a grudge or resentment that you've been carrying for too long? What would it feel like to let it go? What would it feel like to set yourself free? Let go of the hot coals you've been holding and feel the peace that comes from releasing the weight of anger. When you do, you will realize that the person who benefits the most is you. You will have taken back your power. You will have chosen a life of peace, healing, and freedom. And that, my friend, is the true meaning of liberation. Forgiveness as freedom, a Buddhist perspective. Let me begin by asking you a simple question. When someone hurts you, do you hold on to that pain? Do you carry it with you, letting it weigh you down, making every step heavier than the last? It's natural, isn't it? We all feel that way sometimes. We think about the words or actions that hurt us, and it's hard to let them go. We replay the moment over and over, holding on to the anger, the disappointment, or the sadness. But have you ever stopped to wonder, what does holding on to this really do for me? In Buddhism, there's a saying, holding on to anger is like holding a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. You're the one who gets burned. Let that sink in for a moment. Every time you hold on a hurt, every time you let bitterness and anger stay in your heart, you are the one suffering. The other person may not even know the pain they've caused you. They may have moved on, but here you are, holding that wound tightly. The only person who is truly affected by it is you. Now, let's be clear. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It doesn't mean you have to excuse the other person's actions or pretend that they didn't hurt you. Forgiveness is not about them. It's about you. It's about freeing yourself from the prison of resentment that you've built around your heart. It's about letting go of the weight that drags you down, allowing you to walk through life with lightness and peace. Forgiveness in Buddhism isn't about letting someone off the hook. It's about understanding that everyone is on their own journey, and sometimes people act out of their own pain, ignorance, or fear. When you hold on to a grudge, you're holding on to something that isn't yours to carry. You are holding on to their mistakes, their shortcomings, and their suffering, while your own soul longs for peace. The act of forgiving doesn't excuse their actions. It frees you from the chains of that anger and hurt. Think of a time when you've been wronged. Perhaps it was a betrayal, a lie, or an injustice. How long did you carry the weight of that hurt? How long did it sit in your heart, poisoning your thoughts, stealing your joy? Now picture yourself letting go. Picture yourself saying, I forgive you, not for you, but for me. When you forgive, you release that negative energy that binds you. You free your mind, your heart, and your spirit. Forgiveness doesn't come easily for everyone, and it's okay. The Buddha taught that true forgiveness is a gradual process. It doesn't happen overnight. It's like planting a seed of peace in your heart and nurturing it every day. The first step is simply the intention to forgive. It's the willingness to let go of the past, no matter how much it hurts. It's the courage to choose peace over pain, love over hate. You see, When you forgive, you don't just let go of anger. You also let go of the need to be right. When you're holding on to a grudge, there's often a part of you that feels justified in your anger. You want the other person to admit they were wrong, to apologize, or to make it right. But the truth is, waiting for an apology or justice can trap you in a cycle of bitterness. It can make you feel powerless. And that's where the real freedom lies, in releasing the need for the other person to make it right. Forgiveness gives you the power to take back control of your own life. It takes the power away from the person who hurt you and places it back in your hands. You become the one who chooses how to respond to the situation, how to react, and how to move forward. In that way, forgiveness is the ultimate act of self-liberation. The Buddha teaches that we are all interconnected. Our actions, our words, our thoughts, they all ripple out into the world, affecting everyone around us. When we forgive, we not only heal ourselves, but we also heal the world. We break the cycle of hurt and create space for love, understanding, and compassion to grow. It's like planting a seed of peace in the soil of our hearts, which then spreads outward, touching others. Forgiveness also doesn't mean you have to continue to have a relationship with the person who hurt you. It doesn't mean you have to invite them back into your life if they don't respect your boundaries. Sometimes forgiveness is about setting healthy boundaries, even if it means letting go of the relationship entirely. Forgiveness is about releasing the hold that hurt has on you, not about giving the other person permission to keep hurting you. In Buddhism, we also talk about the concept of metta, or loving kindness. When we forgive, we open our hearts to loving kindness, not just for those who have hurt us, but for all beings. We start to see that everyone, even those who hurt us, is suffering in their own way. They may not know it, but their actions come from a place of ignorance or pain. When you forgive them, you are acknowledging their suffering as well, and you are choosing to respond with compassion, not anger. I'm not asking you to forget the hurt or to pretend it didn't happen. I'm asking you to release it, to allow your heart to heal, to stop carrying the burden that isn't yours to carry. I'm asking you to make room for peace. When you forgive, you make space for joy, love, and inner calm to take root in your life. It's a gift you give yourself. The practice of forgiveness may feel impossible at first. It may take time, and there may be setbacks. But each time you choose forgiveness, you move closer to freedom. With each breath, with each thought of release, you are free from the chains of past hurt. And as you forgive, you begin to realize that the one who has hurt you has no power over you. You reclaim your power. You reclaim your peace. Remember, forgiveness is not a one-time act. It's a process, a practice, something you return to again and again. Just like breathing, just like meditation, forgiveness is a tool you can use whenever the weight of hurt starts to creep in. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. And the more you forgive, the more peace you will find. The freedom that comes from forgiveness is not just a theoretical idea. It is something you can experience for yourself. Every time you forgive, you experience a moment of lightness, a moment of release. You feel the burden drop, and for a brief moment, your heart is free. This is the true power of forgiveness. It's not about the other person. It's about you reclaiming your peace. It's about finding liberation from your own suffering. So, when you find yourself holding on to pain, remember that forgiveness is the key to freedom, the key to peace, the key to reclaiming your life. Loving kindness meditation, a practical step to heal from hurt. Sit down, breathe slowly. Let everything else in the world wait for a moment. You are here now. You are safe. You are alive. In whatever pain you carry, however deep the hurt runs, there's a way to soften it. Not by fighting, not by forgetting, but by gently turning toward it with kindness. Yes, kindness. You may wonder, how can I be kind when someone has hurt me so badly? That question is natural. That question is human. But let me tell you something you may not have heard before. Kindness is not for them. It's for you. When we hold on to pain, when we carry anger or resentment in our heart, it is we who suffer most. The person who hurt us may move on. They may not even know how deeply they wounded us. But we carry that weight like a stone in our chest. Every day, every hour, every breath. Buddhism teaches that pain is a part of life. But suffering is a choice. And this choice often hides beneath our reactions, our thoughts, our refusal to let go. So how do we make a new choice? How do we drop the stone? How do we finally breathe without pain tightening our chest? Loving kindness meditation, also known as metta bhavana, is one of the most powerful practices in Buddhism. And the beauty of it, it's simple, it's gentle, and anyone can do it, no matter how hurt they feel. You begin by sitting quietly. No need for any special posture. To sit where you are, close your eyes, take a slow breath in, and let out gently. Then again, one more time, let the body settle. Now, quietly in your mind, you say, "May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be free from suffering." You don't need to force the feeling. At first, the words may feel empty. That's okay. Just say them, like planting seeds in dry soil. The rain will come later. The heart will soften in its own time. After offering kindness to yourself, you then bring someone into your mind, someone you love, someone who makes you smile gently. Picture their face, their presence. And now say to them, "May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be free from suffering." Feel the warmth in those words. Let them wash over the image of that person. Then bring to mind someone neutral, maybe a neighbor, a shopkeeper, a person you often see but don't feel strongly about. Offer them the same wishes. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be free from suffering. Slowly, quietly, without judgment. And then, the most difficult step, bring to mind the one who hurt you. This is where many hearts tremble. Why would I send love to someone who caused me pain? But listen closely, you are not saying that what they did was right. You are not forgiving the act. You are choosing to free your heart from hatred. Because when you hold on to anger, it is you who drinks the poison, hoping they will suffer. But in this moment, you give yourself a chance to be free. You picture them. You don't need to love them. You don't need to forget. You just send the words, "May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be free from suffering." Even if you whisper it through clenched teeth, even if your heart resists, just try, for your own sake. And then, slowly, you open your awareness wider. Picture all beings, all people, all animals, all creatures on this earth, from those in deep joy to those in terrible suffering. And to them all, you say, "May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be free from suffering." This is not just a meditation. It is a healing, a softening, a quiet revolution inside your chest. You may feel tears. You may feel peace. You may feel nothing. All of it is okay. What matters is that you show up for yourself in this way. Some people say, "But I don't have time for meditation." But loving kindness doesn't need an hour. Even 5 minutes a day can change the way you carry your pain. You can do it while walking, while waiting in line, while washing dishes. Whisper the phrases. Feel the warmth. Let it ripple. When you practice this over time, something changes. Slowly, like winter melting into spring. One day, you realize that the person who once haunted your heart now passes through your thoughts like a cloud. They no longer have power over you, because you have chosen peace. This is not weakness. This is the strength of the wise. The Buddha once said, "Hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love." This is the eternal rule, and that rule lives in this practice. Loving kindness is not about pretending. It's not about smiling when you feel broken. It is about tending to your wounds with gentle hands. It is about saying, "I will not let pain harden me. I will not let anger steal my peace." You are not alone. Every person who hears these words, who practices this path, walks with you. We are all trying to let go. We are all trying to heal. We're all trying to return home to a heart that is soft, not because it is weak, but because it is free. So breathe, just breathe, and say the words again, gently, patiently. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be free from suffering. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be free from suffering. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be free from suffering. This is how we begin to heal. This is how we stop the cycle of hurt. And this is how we return to peace. The peaceful warrior, walking the noble path amid conflict. As you walk through life, there will be moments when conflict arises. It's inevitable, whether in your personal relationships, at work, or even within yourself. These moments can feel like storms shaking your very core. In these times, it's easy to get swept up in the emotions, the anger, the frustration, and the desire to react. But here, in the teachings of the Buddha, we learn that it is not the storm that defines us. It is how we respond to it that shapes our experience. The key to walking through life with grace, even amidst chaos, is to embrace the role of the peaceful warrior. A warrior is not someone who seeks out conflict, but someone who is prepared to face it with a steady heart and a calm mind. The peaceful warrior is one who doesn't seek victory through fighting, but through understanding, compassion, and wisdom. This might seem difficult at first, but it is the path that leads to true peace. When we think of a warrior, we often imagine someone with great strength, someone who can fight and overcome any challenge. But in the world of Zen and Buddhism, the greatest strength is not in defeating others, but in mastering yourself. It's in having the ability to stand firm in the face of adversity without losing your inner peace. The peaceful warrior is someone who faces conflict not with the intent to win, but with the intent to understand and resolve. Imagine for a moment that you are in a disagreement with someone. The situation is charged with emotion, and it seems like no matter what you say, it only makes things worse. The old you might have gotten angry, raised your voice, or even stormed off in frustration. But now, with the wisdom of a peaceful warrior, you pause. You take a deep breath. You listen not just to their words, but to the pain behind them. You allow the moment to unfold without reacting impulsively. This is not about being passive or allowing others to walk over you. It is about responding with clarity and compassion, even in the face of tension. It's about holding your ground not with force, but with wisdom and equanimity. The Buddha taught us to recognize that every moment of conflict is an opportunity for growth. It is a chance to practice patience, to cultivate mindfulness, and to show compassion, even when we feel hurt. In these moments, you may feel tempted to react in anger, to defend yourself, or to prove that you are right. But the true power of the peaceful warrior lies in choosing not to get caught up in that cycle. Instead of reacting, you respond. You step back, observe, and then choose your words carefully. You remain calm in the storm, and through that calmness, you find your strength. There's a famous Buddhist saying, when someone gives you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The answer is simple. The gift belongs to the one who gave it. Similarly, when someone offers you anger, hatred, or hurtful words, you have the power to choose whether to accept them. You can choose to accept these negative emotions and let them become a part of your inner world, where you can choose to let them pass, like clouds drifting through the sky. The peaceful warrior does not take on the burdens of others. This is where true freedom lies. In every conflict, there's an opportunity to let go of the need to control, to win, or to be right. There's an opportunity to release the attachments that cause suffering. Instead of reacting from a place of fear or ego, the peaceful warrior acts from a place of wisdom and compassion. It is not about defeating the other person, but about finding peace within yourself. The peaceful warrior understands that conflict is not the enemy. It is the misunderstanding, the attachment, and the ego that create the suffering. By letting go of these attachments, you can meet conflict with a clear mind and an open heart. And in doing so, you could transform the energy of the conflict itself. But how does one cultivate this peaceful warrior mindset? It begins with self-awareness. You must first understand your own triggers. What causes you to react in anger or frustration? Once you become aware of your reactions, you can begin to choose differently. This requires practice and patience, as it is not something that comes naturally to most of us. But with time, you will find that your responses become more measured, more compassionate, and more rooted in wisdom. The Buddha taught that we must watch the thinker. This means observing the thoughts that arise within us and understanding that we are not our thoughts. Just because a thought comes into your mind does not mean you have to act on it. You can choose which thoughts to entertain and which to let go of. By becoming the observer of your thoughts, you can avoid being swept away by them. In the face of conflict, this practice of mindfulness becomes essential. You are not your anger. You are not your frustration. You are not the words that are being spoken to you. You are the awareness behind them. When you identify with the awareness instead of the emotions, you gain the ability to act, not from a place of reactivity, but from a place of choice. The peaceful warrior knows that true strength is not in overpowering others, but in mastering oneself. This self-mastery does not come from suppression or denial of emotions, but from understanding and transforming them. It is the ability to face conflict, pain, and suffering with grace, knowing that these are not the end of the story. They're simply the raw material from which we can build our wisdom and compassion. In Buddhism, this is known as the practice of equanimity, maintaining mental calmness and balance, no matter what happens around you. Equanimity is not about avoiding conflict, but about meeting it with a balanced mind. It is the ability to stay grounded, to be mindful, and to respond with clarity, even when everything around you seems chaotic. The peaceful warrior walks this path not because it is easy, but because it is the path to true freedom. When you can meet conflict without losing your peace, you are no longer a slave to your emotions. You are free to act with wisdom, to choose compassion, and to cultivate a heart that remains open, no matter what happens. This is the power of the peaceful warrior, the ability to walk the noble path with courage, to face conflict without fear, and to respond with wisdom and compassion. In doing so, you become a beacon of peace in a world that often feels consumed by anger and division. So, the next time you find yourself in the midst of conflict, remember this. You have the power to choose how you respond. You can react in anger, or you can respond with wisdom. You can hold on to your pain, or you can let it go. The peaceful warrior within you has the strength to choose peace, no matter the circumstances. And when you walk this path, you will find that the storms of life no longer shake you. Instead, you become the calm in the center of the storm, standing firm in your own peace. This is the power of the peaceful warrior, a power that is available to each and every one of us. It's not about avoiding conflict, but about meeting it with the wisdom of a calm mind and the strength of a compassionate heart. Liberation through letting go, closing words, and eternal wisdom. As we come to the final step of this journey together, I invite you to take a deep breath and reflect on everything we have explored. By now, you might be asking yourself, can I really free myself from the hurt of others? Can I truly let go of the anger, the bitterness, the resentment that weighs me down? The answer, my friend, is yes. It's not only possible, but within your reach. Letting go doesn't mean that you forget what happened. It doesn't mean you erase the pain or pretend it didn't hurt. Letting go doesn't mean you approve of what was done to you. But letting go does mean you take back control of your life. It means you're no longer chained to the actions of others, no longer held hostage by your own anger and pain. You free yourself from the past, and you choose peace in the present. In Buddhism, we are often reminded of the impermanence of all things. The Buddha taught us that everything in this life is transient. Our thoughts, our feelings, our circumstances. This includes the hurt that others may cause us. It may feel deep, it may feel real, but just like everything else, it too shall pass. The problem arises when we hold on to it, allowing it to linger in our minds, feeding it with our attention and energy. Imagine a rock in the middle of a river. The river represents the flow of life, ever moving, ever changing. The rock represents the anger, the hurt, the past. What happens when we allow that rock to sit in the water? It stops the flow. The river cannot move freely, and the water cannot cleanse. But when we let go of that rock, when we allow it to be carried away by the current, the river flows again. The water becomes clear, the flow is restored, and peace returns. This is how we must approach our own suffering. When someone hurts you, it's like they have thrown a rock into your river. But instead of holding on to that rock, clinging to it, we must learn to let it go. This is the essence of freedom. Freedom is not the absence of pain, but the ability to move through the pain without being consumed by it. The act of forgiveness is a powerful tool in this process. Forgiveness does not mean excusing the behavior of others. It doesn't mean you have to welcome them back into your life or forget what they've done. Forgiveness is about releasing yourself from the prison of anger and resentment. It's about saying, I'm no longer willing to let this hurt define me. When you forgive, you are not doing it for the other person. You are doing it for yourself. You are choosing to step out of the darkness and into the light of your own peace. But I know this may not be easy. Some wounds run deep, and the pain can feel unbearable. When we are hurt by those we love, by those we trust, the scars can last a lifetime. The memories may never fully fade, and that is okay. You don't need to erase the past to move forward. The key is not to let the past control your future. The Buddha taught that we are not our past. We are not our mistakes. We are not the things that have been done to us. We are the present moment, and in this moment, we can choose how we respond. I understand that sometimes the anger feels justified. The hurt feels deserved. You may feel like you have every right to hold on to that grudge, to carry the weight of what happened. And in some ways you do. But the question is, what is that grudge doing for you? Is it making you stronger? Is it helping you heal? Or is it only hurting you more, keeping you stuck in a cycle of pain? When we choose to let go, we are not giving up our power. We are reclaiming it. By forgiving, by choosing peace over conflict, we are standing in our strength. We are showing the world that we are not weak for letting go, but strong in our ability to rise above. We are not allowing anyone or anything to control our happiness, our peace, our future. We are in charge of our own lives. Now, let me remind you of something. Healing takes time. It's not an overnight process. You may have moments when the hurt resurfaces, when the anger creeps back in, and that's okay. The key is not to judge yourself for feeling these things. Be kind to yourself. Understand that the path to healing is a journey, not a destination. But with every step, with every breath, you are moving closer to the peace you seek. The Buddha taught that all suffering is caused by attachment. We are attached to our pain, our anger, our resentment. We are attached to the stories we tell ourselves about what others have done to us. But when we let go of that attachment, we free ourselves. To forgive is to heal. To let go is to be liberated. This liberation is not something that happens in the future. It happens right now, in this very moment. It happens when you choose to breathe deeply, to release the anger, and to move forward with love and compassion in your heart. It happens when you choose to forgive, not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve peace. So, as we come to the end of this journey, remember this. You are not defined by the hurt others have caused you. You are not defined by the wounds you carry. You are defined by how you choose to move forward, by how you choose to let go, by how you choose to love and forgive. You have the power within you to create the peace you seek. It's not out there, it's within you. As we say in Buddhism, let go of the past and the future, for only the present moment exists. In this moment, you have the ability to heal, to forgive, and to create the peace that you have always longed for. Thank you for walking this path with me. Thank you for opening your heart to the wisdom of letting go. May you find peace, may you find freedom, and may you walk the path of compassion and love for yourself and for others. Remember, the journey doesn't end here. It continues with every breath you take, with every step you make. Keep choosing peace, keep choosing love, and keep choosing freedom. And now, as you close this chapter, remember, the peace you seek is always within you. You just have to let go to find it. Thank you for being here with us.